Arts. We are going to be reading through our text for this week. So you need out your Journeys book on page 346. We're going to start here. And you need out your journal and a pencil because we are going to be taking some notes while we read. So if you want to pause the video to get those things out, you can. We're going to get started right away. So I'm going to start by reading this part. I'm just going to read this. I want you to just listen and follow along. But this says preview the topic. Kind of like when we go to the movies and we watch a preview, it gives us an idea about what a movie is going to be like. It just gives us a little short snapshot of what it's going to be like. So this is previewing the topic of our text. So we're going to get an idea about what we'll be reading in our longer text today. So it is called Life Cycles. When you look up at a giant tree, it is hard to imagine that it was once a tiny seed. It was, though. The seed was in the ground. Sunlight and rain helped it grow. The tree was small at first, but then it grew and grew. After years of growing, it became a full-grown tree. When seeds fall from the tree, more trees will grow. This is the tree's life cycle. Many plants grow this same way. You will read more about how plants grow in from seed to plant. So we read that because now we know what we're going to be reading about. This actually tells us you will read more about how plants grow in from seed to plant. So let's jump into our text for today. Turn the page. We are on this page. You can tell we have some really nice drawings here, but let's double check on the side, just like we did last week, where our genre or the type of text, it says informational text, which means it gives us information. So this is non-fiction. This is a true text giving us true information. So even though there are drawings instead of real pictures, we know it's an informational text because our book tells us that. It's going to be giving us true information about something true, something that is not fictional. So this is our author, Gail Gibbons, and we're going to jump right into our story. Our text today is called From Seed to Plant. And we already had that little preview about what we're going to read, and you can probably guess we're going to be reading about what happens when a seed, how does it get to becoming a plant? And today we're going to focus on our big question, how do plants grow and change? So this is where we need out our journals. Grab your journal, please. At the top, we're going to put the date, and we're going to make a circle map. And if you remember, we made one of these about penguins right before we left. I'm just going to fill my page with a really, really big circle. This turned out to kind of be like an oval Easter egg, but that's okay. And then in the middle, I'm going to write that question, how do plants grow and change? And then I'm going to circle it, and hopefully this map looks familiar to you. This is called a circle map, and what we're going to do is we're going to collect information from our text and write it all in the circle. We're just going to be collecting the information that we read. So let's get started reading. Turn the page. When I pause, you know what to do. Most plants make. A seed contains the beginning of a new plant. Seeds are shapes, sizes, and colors. All seeds grow into the same kind of plant that made them. Many plants grow. Flowers are where most seeds begin. So when we're thinking about our page here, what were we reading mostly about? What is this page about? If you said seeds, you are correct. We are talking all about seeds on this page. So when we pull out our journal, we're probably going to be writing down some information. We're going to collect some information about seeds. What do you think is the most important piece of information to collect from this page? It gives us a lot of information about plants. We learned that seeds contain the beginning of a new plant. Seeds are different shapes, size, and colors, and many plants grow flowers, and that's where seeds begin. I think that might be the most important piece of information. So I'm going to write down flowers are where seeds begin. I'm going to write that down on my map. That's the information I've collected. And I'm also going to write down seeds are all different because our book told us they can be different colors, sizes, shapes. So I'm just going to write those two facts. Remember, facts are true pieces of information. All right, let's keep going. A flower is made up of many. Now you might notice this is a pretty short page. It's actually a pretty short line or sentence. But if I look here, we know that the pictures in a nonfiction text give me more information about what I'm reading. And here I have lots of little labels that are drawn on top of the picture and showing me what the different things in the picture are. So I'm going to read through them right now. This part of the plant is called a sepal. This part of the plant is called the stem. Some of these words you might already know, like I already knew the stem, but I didn't know the word sepal. This is called the petal, and it's pointing to this big part of the flower. You might have already known that one too. Here, this is pointing to these little dots here. At the bottom of the pistil are tiny egg cells called ovules. In the center of the flower is the pistil. So we learned this is the pistil, and these are the tiny egg cells called ovules. The sticky part at the top of the pistil is the stigma. So right now we're learning all about the pistil because this is the pistil that we're told by that label. Stamens make yellow powder called pollen. You might recognize that. And the parts of the flower around the pistil are called the stamens. So this picture gives us lots of information about a flower. A flower is made up of many parts. So this picture and all the labels tell us more about those parts of the flower. Let's keep reading. Before a can begin to grow, a grain from the stamen must land on the stigma at the top of the pistil of a like itself. This is called pollination. Pollination happens in different ways. Often, blows pollen from flower to flower. Bees, and hummingbirds help pollinate too. While they visit for their sweet juice, called nectar, pollen rubs onto the pollen to another flower where it comes off onto its. So there was a lot of information on this page. So we're going to try to break it down and pull out what's really important and put it onto our map in our circle map in our journal. So we first learned up here there's something called pollination. It's when a grain of pollen from the stamen must land on the stigma at the top of the pistil. So let's go back and look at our labels. I know I had to do that because there's a lot of big words here. So it's when the pollen from the stamen goes up and lands on the stigma. That's pollination. And remember, that's pollen, those little yellow dots in our picture. And we learn that pollination happens in different ways. Wind can blow pollen from flower to flower, or bees and other insects and hummingbirds can help pollinate too. When they visit the flowers, the pollen rubs on their bodies and then they carry it to another flower. So I think what I'll talk about is pollination is when, pollen goes from the stamen to the stigma. And if you still don't understand this process, that's okay. We're doing our best, and there's a lot of big new words and learning that's happening right now. Also, I'm going to say wind and insects and animals, animals help pollinate. And that's kind of reminds me of the sock walk we did last week, learning about how seeds get dispersed. Pollen gets dispersed in a similar way. Let's keep reading. If a pollen grain lands on the pistil of the same kind of flower, it grows a long tube through the pistil into an ovule. This is a seed. The seeds grow inside the flower even as the flower to die. As the seeds become a fruit or pod grows around them. The fruit or protects the seeds. So again, we get a lot of really good information here. So we learn that a seed forms when a pollen grain from a flower lands on the pistil. Remember, is this part the same kind of flower, and it grows a long tube through the pistil into an ovule. So remember, these are ovules down here. This is how a seed begins. I'm going to write for this one that the fruit pod around the seed, and it doesn't matter where I'm writing around my circle, the fruit or pod around the seed protects it, because I think that's pretty important to know. The fruit or pod around the seed protects it. It protects the seed. And then I'm going to keep moving on. When the fruit or pod ripens, it breaks open. The seeds are ready to become new plants. Some seeds fall to the ground around the base of the plant where they will grow. Some pods or fruits open and the seeds pop out. Sometimes when birds eat berries, they drop the seeds. From this page, I am going to write when the fruit/pod ripens, the seed is ready. Have you ever heard someone say you can't eat it until it's ripe? That's a word when we use to talk about when plants are ready. So in this case, when the fruit or the pod ripens, that means the seed is ready to become a plant. I'm not going to write anything down yet about how seeds get dispersed because we're going to keep learning about that. We already learned sometimes they fall by themselves. Sometimes the fruit opens and the seed pops out. Sometimes birds drop the seeds when they eat them. Let's keep reading. Other seeds fall into streams, ponds, or the ocean. There they travel on the water until they stick to the dirt along the shore. The wind scatters seeds. We learned this last time. Some seeds have on them that lets them float to like tiny parachutes. Others have wings that spin as they fall. And let's keep reading because we're going to keep learning about the ways seeds get dispersed. Animals help scatter too. They hide acorns and nuts in the ground. Some seeds that stick to the fur of animals or people's clothes. Later, they drop off into the ground. So let's pause here and write down some of the ways that seeds get dispersed. I'm going to challenge you to do this part on your own. So stop the video and write down how are some ways that seeds get dispersed or spread out. I'm going to write some too, and then when you come back to the video, we'll both have some written down. What did you write down? I bet you wrote down a lot of ways that seeds get dispersed. I wrote, seeds get dispersed by wind, water, birds, animals, fluff, or falling. Let's keep going. A flower bed or vegetable is beautiful. Seeds are planted to grow in the gardens. The seeds come in small envelopes or boxes. Directions explain how to the seeds and care for the plants. And you might have done that before, and we're going to get to do that in science. The beginning of a is curled up inside each seed. Food is stored, the seed too. The seed has a seed coat on to protect it. So let's look at our picture here because remember, it's going to give us more information about what we just read. So a plant is curled up. There's the beginning of the plant. It's curled up inside the seed. And we know that there's food inside for the plant to eat, to grow. The seed has a seed coat on the outside to protect it. So here we see our seed coat. A seed will not sprout until certain happen. First, it must be on or in the soil. Then it needs rain to soak and soften its seed coat. So let's write down a few things about the beginning of a plant and what a plant or a seed needs to grow. So first, we're going to talk about this paragraph right here, the beginning of a plant. So a seed has the plant curled up inside. And there are so many things we could write. We could write about the seed coat, or we could write about it having food inside, but I chose to write about the plant being curled up inside. If you want to choose to write about something else about the seed, you can. Let's keep reading about what the seed needs to grow. When the sun shines and warms the seed coat breaks and the seed begins to grow. This is called germination. A grows down into the soil. The root takes in minerals from the soil for food. Up grows a shoot. Green grow up from the shoot toward the plant grows bigger, and the leaves make food for the plant from the water and minerals in the sunlight and the air all around the plant. So now we know the things that happen for a seed to grow. So let's write some of them down. A seed needs sun and water to grow. We know a seed needs sun and water to grow. Oops, sorry, that got a little bit close to my last idea. Then we learn there's something called germination and when the shoot grows up. So I'm going to say first a root grows. That's the part underground if you want to draw a picture to help you. A root grows. Then a shoot grows, and this is the part above the ground. I know we have a lot of writing, so just squeeze it in as you can. Finally, the plant is full grown. Buds on the plant open into flowers where new seeds will grow. Many of the foods people eat are seeds, fruits, and pods. They are full of nutrition, vitamins, and minerals, and they are